monster.
I'm your number one fan.
Now clear your minds. You know what scares you. It has from the very beginning.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
It's been informed that zombies have entered the building. They're at the door. They're coming in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I'm your host, as always, Corey, and alongside me is my good pal, Tony. What's going on, Tony?
Not much, man. Corey, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. I'm I'm excited about this one, Tony.
Yeah, me too. Me too. This is going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one to dig into. But before we get into our review on Wrong Turn, 2021, correct?
2021, that is correct.
Yeah. So before we get into this, we're just going to kind of go for a little bit. Honestly, if you listen to us here on YouTube, that's great. Make sure that you always like, share, subscribe, and check us out on our Facebook group as well. We're constantly doing things there, and it is a closed group. Ask nicely, we will let you in, and you just post things and just have fun. And there's some free codes and stuff in there from time to time, so you'll get to watch what we're watching, and we just have a lot of fun in there. It's become quite a fun community. So check that out if you guys are avid listeners and you wanna engage a little bit more. Also, we've got our group on TikTok. You can check this out there. That's Midnight Monster 20. And honestly, I've kind of neglected that area, and I need to get in there a little bit more, but I haven't had the time to. But hopefully, I'm going to start posting more stuff in there. And be on the lookout. We're going to be doing some different things, I think, here in the near future on YouTube, actually. But yeah, with that, Tony, you got anything you want to add to that before we get started?
No, man. I didn't know if you wanted to get a little bit more into that venture that we might be getting into on YouTube with the. I didn't know if you wanted to. I don't want to jump the gun at it, but.
Well, we talked about a little bit about it last week, and I can discuss it a little bit more. So be on the lookout. We will be doing an unboxing for Horror Pack. And if you don't know what Horror Pack is, essentially it's just a monthly subscription that you can either pay monthly or annually. And you pay annually. I pay $270, I believe it is. And I know it sounds a lot in the beginning, but however, it adds up to about $5 a Blu-ray. You can't go wrong with that.
No,
and you get one exclusive Blu-ray or limited edition. I've actually got an autographed one from them as well. And then you also get 3 at random, and it's never the same. It's always different. And it's just fun to beef up the collection and see what you get. And some of the stuff that comes in, it's cheesy and fun to watch, and I've had a blast watching some of those films. So but yeah, we are going to be doing an unboxing of, I believe, February's. I believe that's what we're going to be doing. So be on the lookout for that. That's coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing is a lot of the exclusives and stuff, I mean, we covered on the show, actually a featured review on the show. So yeah, they're interesting films to talk about, of course. There's a lot to cover. So, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that, man.
Yeah, that's going to be fun to start unboxings and stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be neat. But yeah, so be on the lookout for that. That's coming up in the near future. But with that, Tony, you ready to just straight dive into this and, I don't know, maybe take a wrong turn?
Maybe take a right turn. Let's do it, man. Ready to dive head first in this bad boy.
Yeah. So before we get into this, we need to go ahead and tell you guys that this is going to be chock full of spoilers, I'm sure, because we're gonna dive into this pretty heavily, I think.
Yeah, and this is a newer film. I mean, you're talking 2021, so it's brand spanking new. So a lot of people have yet to actually sit down and watch it. So just be forewarned, we will be getting heavy into spoilers.
Yes. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Now, I will go ahead and say it is worth the recommendation. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I think on Letterbox I gave this like a 5 star because it was really good.
Yeah.
The rewatchability for me is there. I had a blast with it. Uh, and honestly, just watching the evolution of this film as it progressed was just amazing to me.
Yeah.
So everything about this film I enjoyed. I give it a huge rating and say that this is up anyone's alley, really.
Yeah.
So
I do want to preference with this movie. If you're looking for a prototypical wrong turn film, just getting into it. This is not what you're going to be expecting. This is something completely different.
mhm.
So I'm just wanting to throw that out there, listeners that are really, really hardcore into the Wrong Turn franchise. If they expect this to be a complete remake of the first Wrong Turn, it's not at all. It's more of a reboot in name. But I mean, there's a similarity with the setting, but other than that, it's very much different. So I can see how people would be kind of turned off by that. But to me, I didn't know going into it that that's what it was going to be. So I was pleasantly surprised by that.
Yeah, I think I had actually found that out prior to me watching it, so I already had that expectation of that's what was happening. Um, but at the same time, I found myself throughout the entire film trying to see how they were going to tie it into the franchise.
Yeah.
I was like,
And
oh, okay, well, this is how the cannibals happen. Okay, wait a minute. This could potentially be it. So I just kept guessing, and I needed to stop because I was overthinking it way too much.
right. Well, there's interesting little nods and shout outs to the franchise in here, which we'll probably get into when we dive deeper into it. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I really enjoyed those little nods and those little homages to, prior films in the franchise. But while watching this movie, I thought of a lot of different movies. Because there's a lot of things this reminds me of, but still in itself, it's got its own thing going. So
Mhm.
this is just it really was interesting. This movie has a little bit of layering there that you can really like peel back and just enjoy. I mean, I mean, we'll get into it more, but just wanted to preference if you're looking for a cannibal backwoods film like Wrong Turns that they've been, this is not what you're going to get with this movie. So just know that going into it. I know
Mhm.
it's probably like I said, I know Wrong Turn has its fans and its fan base. So if they find out about that, they're automatically going to probably be a little bit miffed to this movie. But go in with an open mind, man. You'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, almost as if it's not so much part of the franchise as a more of a standalone. But
Just stand
I will like to mention though that they kept it really hush hush throughout the entire filming process of this. Because of course, I think we talked about this earlier, Tony, where when I first heard that Wrong Turn was coming out, or they were coming out with a new Wrong Turn film, I instantly kind of, I wouldn't say like was completely turned off by the idea, but more or less a little cringed because I was like, oh my God, this is turning into a Saw thing, you know?
right.
But I mean, again, people follow franchises. I mean, we did when it comes to Friday the 13th films, Nightmare on Elm Street, stuff like that. So I mean, I get it, you know.
Yeah, I get it too. From that perspective, yeah. If they were me being such a Friday the 13th fanboy, like if they did something different and not of the formula to that, I would be kind of miffed and turned off too. But like with this franchise, I'm not fully invested in it like like some people are. I'm not gonna say most, but some people are really really hardcore into this franchise, and I
Mm,
enjoy it. But I'm not like a super fan of it. So the fact that they injected new life into it with this reboot, really really I dug it. So
mhm.
yeah, I could like I said see how it would kind of like steer people the wrong way. But like I said, for people that just have those preconceived notions of it, go in with an open mind, and I think you'll really enjoy it. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with it 100 or with what you just said 100%. Um, yeah, because in when I went into it, I went into it with that mindset, But at the same time, I was still trying to figure out how they were going to tie it in. But I needed to, like I said, I needed to stop overthinking it altogether and just roll with it. Um, but yeah, all just everything with this film was just a fun ride. Um, I guess we can just kind of start off with things. So basically, you got these teenagers that are going up. Well, are they teenagers? They're college students, aren't they?
College students, yeah.
Yeah, they're college students. So they're getting away. They're going to do things out of the norm, and they're heading up to the mountains, and they're heading up to Virginia, and they're gonna basically go hiking. You know, and upon them hiking, they actually come into, or I guess they find themselves in a small town that
Yeah, in Virginia.
is, yeah, a small town in Virginia that's basically, I guess, probably never changed, since the olden days. So things are still a little, you know, what's the word I'm looking for, Tony? Kind of like old fashioned there, I guess
Yeah,
you would
very old.
say.
Yeah, very old fashioned.
And
Absolutely.
but they've gotten some warnings, from some locals that, they needed to stay on the trail. They needed to, you know, respect the wilderness and stuff like that because I think, quote unquote, they said that once you disappear in the woods, you disappear for good or something like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
The woods are unforgiving, is what the lady that runs the inn told him.
yeah,
Try to like steer him away from like going off the trail. Just to, give him something gloomy to kind of like, oh shit, like we need to definitely stay on the trail. We don't want to be involved in any of that.
right.
So, and actually, I think they are like fresh out of college too, because a lot of them have jobs. Because there's
Hmm.
a scene where they're talking to locals, and the locals are like, "Oh, you yuppies are, you're not doing anything with your life, and this and that." And our lead character said, "Yeah, we are," and she was naming off everybody had jobs and they were doing
Yeah,
well for themselves. So yeah,
yeah,
I just wanted to say that they're fresh out of college and they have careers and jobs. So
yeah,
but they're just young adults, and and they're in a group and a clique, and the people of the town, are already kind of turned off by the fact that they're there. They don't like the way that these, the younger generation that they live, calling them yuppies and hipsters and all that stuff. Like,
mhm.
just basically just not welcoming at all
No.
of these young adults. So
All the,
automatically met with a lot of like static and just you know standoffishness, and they kind of work through that. And I mean they're really close knit group too, so they band together with each other
mhm.
in the beginning. So but yeah, all they want to do is hike the trail, like, and just be in the mountains and stuff, and just do a little bit of hiking. So they go into
Yeah.
it in you know
Well, they're really obviously the outcast. You can definitely tell that.
oh yeah.
And I guess one of the reasons why, instantly you see that this is different. This is a different generation of young adults too, because you got a gay couple, you got an interracial couple there, and basically the, it's almost like they instantly felt that the town folk didn't approve of this. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And so that was a moment that kind of, like, there was a scene where they were in the inn, and all the woman did was just look at the two gentlemen that were holding hands, and one of the gentlemen got uncomfortable and snatched his hand away.
yeah.
and
Just little
and it,
little stuff like that kind of could be very telling.
yeah, and all that, like, even in the bar scene where they're sitting around, and the one guy's like, just look at you, you guys are an interracial couple, these people obviously aren't going to approve of that. I think that played a lot of foreshadowing for what was to come in the film later on down the road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, which that
Well,
guy too. When you talk about that guy, he plays like the crazy Ralph character, the Doomsayer, which he was. A matter of fact, because I mean, he literally was the Doomsayer in Cabin in the Woods. So right then and there, I thought, of course, Cabin in the Woods, man. And it popped into mind, like, hey, it's the same guy. You know, it's the crazy, like, you know, Southern like Doomsayer, essentially, crazy Ralph of the South. That's pretty much what he was, man. He was telling him, hey, you know, just giving them like a lot of things to think about, and just being, you know, just being that prototypical doomsayer that you get in horror films.
hmm Well, and that's another thing. One of the things that you kind of mentioned was when we were both talking about the woman in the inn. I thought
Mhm.
she was almost that character was almost very cliche of the like the creepy gas station clerk in most films. You know,
Yeah, 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 for sure.
don't go in the woods. Don't do anything dangerous. Turn around while you can. You know, that sort of person.
Like she had some ulterior motives.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally, man. I definitely got that. And even going back to that bar scene, when you know, the guy's like chastising him and saying, oh, you yuppies, you know, you don't do anything, you sit around and collect your parents' money and this and that, like basically berating them and stuff. And you know, our main character Jen speaks up for her whole group and says, you know, of all the things that they're doing and, you know, the careers. And she goes to her boyfriend Darius, who, you know, is really like a passive guy and very, you know, just kind of goes with the flow. She tells the guy that, hey, he works for a nonprofit, and you know, he's accept, or like he does it because he believes in the cause of like helping and you know, being a part of something. And that to me was a little foreshadowing to what happens later on in the movie, which I thought was really interesting, that goes along with his personality trait and his character, that he fits in well with, you know, what we see later is this, you know, thriving, um, but really secretive society. So I thought that was really interesting. That was one of the first takeaways I got from this, was that, wow, that foreshadowing is really deep, you know.
hmm
But you know, I
Yeah.
know we'll get into that a little bit later, and I can maybe speak a little bit more on that. But um, yeah, but like to like your point, man, just right away, a lot of static between them and the locals, and just a lot of like uncertainty, and they play that well, man. They that vibe
hmm
within the movie is very well done, executed really well. So
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. That's they they definitely have their different vibes, but they, like I said, there again, it's all perception based upon them and not so much the town folk.
yeah,
You know, because even like the town folk was offering to help in the woods.
hmm
You know, and that because the guy that was like basically heckling them at one point, you know, he was like, "Well, I know the woods like the back of my hand. If you guys ever need anything."
yeah, yeah. That was interesting too. They kind of had like well, I guess I can speak more of that later when we get toward the end, but there's a kind of like a character development that goes on there. But
hmm
don't jump the gun too early by speaking on that. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of like scenes and things that happen in this film that remind me of other films. And I'm going to get more into that as we keep going along as well. But I've noticed, and I'm sure watching this movie more and more, I'll pick up on a little bit more things um, that really just boom, like make me think of like, oh, this film or that film, like just right away. Which
hmm
is it. Like a couple times while watching this, I thought of other films that really seemed similar, but at the end of the day, this one has its own unique kind of premise as well. So I thought that was really interesting. It's like a melting pot of ideas and this kind of original kind of story. So
Yeah.
yeah, this was a fun film, man. I gotta say, I had a blast with it. Like I said, it helped not having any expectations going in other than just getting into a wrong turn movie,
hmm
and pleasantly surprised by the outcome of it not being like the rest of the franchise. So it's cool that happens. And like I said, I'm sure that's going to turn some people off. But if you just go into it and just expect to, have fun with it's a longer movie though. It runs about 2 hours, I think. So that's another thing that might kind of steer people away. But it's kind of an inflated.
You know what? Honestly, it didn't feel that long though.
It didn't to me.
Because, well, I mean, okay, so the beginning of the film kind of does, it does. It's a little bit of a slow process to get there, but I think the first thing that you actually see is like Jen's dad rolling into town,
Yeah, it was,
and then all of a sudden it's like 6 weeks earlier, you know,
mm-hmm.
and so now it's going back and telling the story of Jen and her friends.
Yeah,
and there. So basically, I think that it needed to kind of backtrack to character build. You had the locals that needed a character build. The group itself needed a character build, and you can really actually so obviously you go into the woods now with the group, and you're in the woods, and again it is a beautiful scenery. It's just the film at this point is just taking its time. Uh, and you don't see that they're being followed just yet or anything like that. But at some point, there is starting to be a turning point, and then here's the turning point: the Jen's boyfriend, what's his name, Darius.
Darius, yeah.
He's like, guys, there's a Civil War fort just around this area. We should break away from the trail and let's go see it. Here's the turning point of the entire film.
Yes, sir. Because as soon as they do that,
it is literally the wrong turn.
Yeah. Can I just add real quick the stalking? I love that. Me being a slasher movie fan, the stalking and stuff like that was fucking. I love that shit, dude. When I see that shit in movies and it's done well, I fucking love it. Because me being that slasher junkie that I am, I just automatically I crave that shit in my movies. They do it well, and it's like paced well. I mean, I'm just on board with it. So I just wanted to speak on that real quick. I love that shit. They did it very well in this.
Yeah. Well, let me get your thoughts real quick on that, because we are talking about the stalking at this point. So basically the group is on the trail. They're being stalked. You can kind of see them being stalked a little bit from a distance.
In there. Yeah.
Okay. And then when they make the turning point, they are really getting stalked. Do you think the stalkers were there just to kind of see if they were going to break away from the trail and go towards the foundation?
Yeah, I think it has got a lot to do with that, and the fact that because we get introduced to this one character that kind of goes outside of the foundation and kind of goes into town and follows these people around, or he's following them from the very beginning. So I don't know if it's them just kind of casing these people out, seeing if they could possibly be. Because I know, when we get a little bit later on into the film that this actually occurs, but just to see if they would fit into their society. And some people are like automatically like, oh, this dude is a loose cannon. Like the one boyfriend, I can't remember his name, the character. But he's just a hothead dude, and he gets into it with everybody, and he's just, man, he's fiery and he's just destructive, like a destructive personality. Like he's the one that's starting trouble with the guys at the bar. Everybody else is having a good time and just relaxing, but he's the one that stirs up all the locals and gets them pissed off. And
and he's the one that instantly is like, oh well, do you think you guys can really get along here with anyone? I mean, you're a gay couple, you're an interracial couple,
Yeah.
And
he's almost an instigator.
Yeah.
He's almost an instigator.
And that's gonna he's kind of the prime reason why there's a certain scene that I definitely want to talk about that's going to be a turning point as well in the film, and we'll get to that because that's coming up soon.
Right.
But back to this. So my question to you though is, when they're being stalked, do you think if they had just stayed on the trail, they wouldn't have been messed with?
Oh, for sure. Because once they get off the trail, that's when shit hits the fan. So as soon as they're just, I'm assuming that what they're thinking is that these people are new in town. We're going to kind of watch them to see what they're doing. If they start intruding on our territory, which these people are very territorial, as soon as they start intruding on our territory, that's when we're gonna strike.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like a predator, and they're very predatorial with their territory, and that's almost how the Foundation is. They're very, very territorial. So
Yeah.
well, that's what I got from them, and just watching this film and seeing how they protect themselves and everybody else around. So basically, this Foundation is just it's almost like a secret society and I love the backstory to this too. That's another thing I love about this movie is the backstory.
Well, you could almost see this actually happening. Like I like somewhere in those mountains, I could actually see this storyline actually unfolding. Like this could actually be a real thing, and I guess that's the horrifying factor of the matter. But
no,
I interrupted, so please go ahead and explain the
no,
Foundation to the
no,
people.
man. Like, yeah. So basically, it's a group of families that during the outbreak of the Civil War did not believe they saw the fraction and the divide in the country, and they wanted to start their own society and not fight on the Union side, the Confederacy side. They wanted to be their own society, so they went off in the woods, and I think it was like 12 or so families that basically decided to almost secede from the country because the country was in such turmoil at the time during the Civil War, and basically start their own society and live deep within the woods and just survive as a society of as a unit essentially. I mean,
Hmm.
they each and they make it a point to where everybody in the society contributes something. So
Hmm.
everybody is essential to their thriving society. And they say that, listen, this society is without disease, it's without cancers, it's without wars, it's without fighting, it's without because they live as a unit, and the unit is many different races, many different creeds, all banded together and fighting as one. They say that we are one, so they really take that seriously. And it's just fascinating to me that this film, a wrong turn film, would go in a direction like this and kind of throw that out there, especially
Hmm.
during the turmoil that we're in now. It's like, wow, it's kind of heavy shit right there. So I mean, it's really a fascinating story. I love the story. I love the screenplay. Whoever wrote it, whoever actually, I do know who wrote it. The same guy, which is an interesting point I wanted to bring up. The same guy that wrote the original Wrong Turn wrote this film. So
Really?
that's food for thought right there, man. He also
Wow.
wrote Halloween 4, which is one of my favorite. Going off on on a different thing. Halloween 4 is one of my favorites in the franchise, but he also wrote that movie. So the guy can, I mean, the guy's a great writer. Like I've got to hand it to him. He's a great writer. But I find it
Hmm.
fascinating that he wrote the screenplay for the original Wrong Turn and then wrote this screenplay for this Wrong Turn. So I find that kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
And man, oh man, was it polarizing and
Yeah.
very different.
Yeah.
This is
I
not
I agree. The
your
storyline and everything was just well written. I agree there 100%.
yeah, this is not your dad's Wrong Turn.
This is a new age of wrong turn. I like it.
Right. And
But
the characters in this film, real quick, the characters in this film reflect that. They're almost like what is it? The God Almighty, the generation that we're in now. Uh, oh man, I'm not this escaping me right now, but I don't know the generation that that
you talking about like Generation X?
yeah, but it's the newer generation. I can't for some reason I'm blanking on it, but um yeah, that's what these characters are. That's what they're shown to be in this film. So
Yeah,
that's yeah, that's what you get with this. The characters reflect the times in the movie. So
yeah. I definitely agree with that. And again, that's why you see the all the different, the like I said, the difference in the group,
Yeah,
you know.
millennials. I'm sorry, that's what I was saying. Millennials. That's what I was trying
Oh,
to say.
okay.
Yeah, where I was going with that.
But yeah, but back to what you were saying, and we'll get back to everything, but I wanted to make a point. But so basically, I think John, right? That's his name, John, the guy that's like the leader of the foundation. Isn't
I think his name is Venable.
okay. But I think
Yeah,
I think yeah, at the end of the film he calls himself John.
yeah, probably calls himself John.
But actually there's 2 points I wanted to kind of backtrack and hit real quick, but so the foundation, and we can discuss this too now because I think we're deep enough. But the foundation, he explains the foundation as a group and a society that kind of left civilization because they essentially saw the fall of America,
Yeah, that's what they say.
and that's where they get the name the foundation, because when society and America uh,
Falls apart.
crumbles in their eyes, this new foundation is what America's going to grow from.
Yeah, and be built on top of, or be built on. Excuse me.
Yeah, so that's the reason why they're called the foundation, and that's why I love that. I love that premise. That's
I do
so
too.
but going back a little bit further, we're kind of backtracking. But
Like
I
I said,
wanted
man,
to
there's a lot to talk about in this film.
Yeah, but I wanted to bring something up. So you meet, like you said, you meet a couple when they're kind I think Jen is like on a kind of she's just jogging before she goes off with her group on the hiking trip, and she comes across a couple of the foundation people.
Yeah.
Um, she buys like a bracelet from the girl who I believe is like the leader's daughter, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
Um, but she comes across her, and what blows my mind is that you have people from the foundation in this town and the town does not approve of them at all. So like obviously it's split sides immediately, and I found myself kind of wondering why there was people there from the foundation when the town folks, especially like during the daytime, don't like them, don't kind of wish they weren't there, stuff like that. And we'll find that out later on in the film. At this point, you don't really know as an audience, you know, you just see these, you know, typical kind of dirty people, almost like the slum of the town, right there. But essentially, those are the foundation people.
All right.
But yeah, so I mean, like, I found myself kind of puzzled and thinking about that throughout the film. Like, well, if the town folk don't like them, then why would they allow them to be there like during the daytime? You know?
Yeah. Well, it was almost like I don't know if they like benefited from each other, like living cohesively in this town. I don't know if that was the case. I know that the lady that ran the inn explained to Jennifer's dad, played by Matthew Modine, who was looking for her the entire time and looking for her group. She kind of explained to him essentially why, it gave him the backstory of who these people were, how long they've been, been where they are, and how they were able to cohabitate with the people in town. But I don't know, it didn't seem like it was really fleshed out enough, and that's one of my
Hmm.
main I'm one of my main problem. I wouldn't say a real problem, but yeah, I don't think it was further fleshed out as to why, to your point, like they're just allowed to coexist in the same town, and why they're so, because a lot of the townsfolk don't like them, as you find out, like they really just don't like them at all. Like
Well,
the
they
one
know
guy,
what's going on up there on that mountain. You
yeah,
know?
they know what's going on, and there's one guy that when Matthew Modine wants to his character wants to go in and save his daughter and pull her from you know, essentially like, her, hostage situation almost, but he wants to go in and help them. And I can't remember her name, the lady that runs the inn that kind of gave him the backstory on who these people are and stuff. She's
Mhm.
like, no, don't go. There's a lot of traps and stuff set on that mountain, and if you're not with somebody that's an experienced hunter or somebody that knows how to look out for that stuff, you're gonna be in trouble. So let me help you out. She gets him in touch with I think it's her cousin or something, who's an
Mhm.
experienced hunter. He has no love for these people in the Foundation, and you later go on to see that he was like hit by an arrow by one of
Mhm.
them, and like he has a scar on his head, and he's like, I got no love for these people. They did this to me. He said so, and I'm also doing it because I want to help my son get through. I think it was welding school or something.
Mhm.
Uh, he's like, that's why I'm taking the money to help you out. He said, I don't have any love for these people, and I want the money to help my son out. So he's like, I'm all for giving you a hand and helping you out to try to get you through to where they are. But I mean, just that, and there's other instances where these town folk do not get along with them, and they, and you wonder like, is that the majority or the minority? Because you see a little glimpse of it, but you don't know the majority of the people's thought process. And do we keep trying to make it work with these people? Is it working that way? I don't know. It probably could have been fleshed out a little bit more as to the history of the both sides and how they saw each other. But we got what we got in the film, and to think about it as like a 2 hour runtime, it could have probably been fleshed out a little bit more, but it wasn't. And for the most part, like I said, you can kind of read between the lines and kind of figure out for the majority of it. Um, Sometimes, occasionally, there's an occasional time where you're like, well, maybe this could have been explained a little bit more to your point. So
Yeah.
I could see the pros and cons to it, for sure. But yeah, that was a little negative thing for me as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I I kind of
It's
wanted to see, a little bit more of a backstory between
Yeah,
the locals and them as well.
because I don't think, I mean, I've seen this movie twice now, but I don't think I missed anything on that. I'm trying to
Hmm.
go back and think, did I? But yeah, I don't know if you didn't catch anything. I didn't catch anything. It wasn't that obvious. So, um, that could definitely be a minor gripe on the overall story. But
Yeah.
like I said, there's probably maybe there were some scenes that were shot that didn't make it, and that could have been cut. So who knows?
Yeah. Yep. Well, so now we're at the point where I guess we can talk about the turning point.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, so they went to go find the Civil War base, uh, or ruins of a Civil War base, and they get lost. And obviously, at this point, now they're getting really stalked. I think our main character Jen has now seen a couple people kind of following him around.
Yeah.
Um, and then now we're at a real turning point where basically Darius is like, you know what? Let's get back to the trail. You guys think that we're lost. Now you kind of start to see a little aggravation within the
Hmm.
characters group because you can kind of tell that they've been walking for about an hour or two now, and they're just kind of like, where is this place that you speak of? We obviously, you got us lost. And so they go to turn back and they hear this loud sound and they're like, what is that? And then lo and behold, it's a tree heading towards them.
Oh man, and whew, that scene is tense as fuck, dude. Holy
It
shit.
is. It
It is
really
one
is.
shot. It's wonderfully shot too, man. I'll give the director a ton of credit for that scene. That's probably one of my favorite sequences in the whole film.
Yeah, it is really intense. I just remember like being on edge when that happened. I was like, holy shit, I was not expecting that. Like instantly there's a tree rolling down in your face and you're just like, it's almost like you're right there. about to run down the hill with them because that it was crazy.
You automatically just set yourself in motion with these characters, and you're like, oh fuck, I would just be running and trying to avoid that shit at all costs. But my clumsy ass will probably trip on a branch and fall and be smashed by a fucking like rolling tree log. Because this was it wasn't like a small, this was a massive fucking log.
Yeah, this was like a redwood that just appeared out of nowhere. It was like
Pretty
rolling
much,
down the fucking mountain at them.
so you're like, if you see yourself in that situation, you're fucking like hauling ass because you can only cover so much ground. That thing is speeding towards you and it's massive. So what do
Yeah.
you do? You just hope to like get behind a stronger tree.
Yeah. I
And
like
just
how
hope.
all these people dodged it, and yeah, and then of course, unfortunately, one of our characters now is squished.
Dude, completely mutilated. Like, oh man, that scene is gnarly. The gore. It's oh man, the gore is wow. And for that scene and that sequence, whew, I mean, you could tell there's probably a little bit of CGI in there, but
Yeah.
it's mixed pretty well. I will
I
say.
watched the behind the scenes, and they actually had like it wasn't an actual tree, but it was like it was hollowed out, but it looked like the an actual tree there. Obviously, the guy that was smashed against the tree was all that was uh fake, you know.
Mm,
But yeah, it was pretty cool how they shot that. Um
very frantically, and that's what I loved about it.
yeah. Well, and that, I think that in that moment, that's the turning point because
Oh yeah,
it never slows down from there. It just kind of keeps on going, and it's in your face the whole time.
definitely where the film kind of shifts focus, and it gets pretty intense from there. Like
Hmm.
it's right then and there. There's a lot of like, man, yeah, there's a lot more stalking. There's a lot more characters like just I mean, in the raw emotion from the characters. I've seen somebody say that the acting wasn't good. I don't see that at all, man. I thought the acting was pretty spot on, man. These characters were giving it all. They were giving raw emotion, especially when the guy found out that it was his, partner that got just obliterated by the tree, and his emotion and his like anger and stuff like that is really like spot on, man. I could
You
see somebody if that would
you felt
happen to
it. You felt it.
yeah,
Like it
if
was
that
very
happened to
believable.
someone, if it happened to someone you truly cared about, like he did, like I would see that would be the reaction that you get. You know, it just automatically just throwing blame at somebody and just being just enraged and just upset while still breaking down at the same time. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't get that at all. Where they say acting is bad, I didn't think it was bad at all. If you think
No.
this acting is bad, then you haven't seen enough lower budget films. I'm sorry. Like like man, this acting was pretty damn spot on, dude.
Yeah. I actually I can't think of one instance where any of the acting was bad or terrible.
No,
I
I
think all in all, it was actually really good. That's I mean, I gave it a 5-star rating on Letterboxd because it was just everything about it was fun and enjoyable.
mm,
And the acting itself, I mean, the characters, like you said, the raw emotion that made me feel a bit of sadness for him and stuff. And that's what I love about films. If you can
mhm.
pull that off and make me feel a certain way, oh man, you're like an A-list film in my book, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
And
Pulls
this
your
film,
emotion, then it's doing
yeah,
something.
it tugged at my emotions there in that scene. Obviously he cared about this person, he really loved this person, and then the guy's just a piled mush. You know, I hate to
Yeah,
say that, but yeah, I mean that's what it was. And then it was almost like a little quick jab was because like they're even like at one point they're like, well, let's go try and find help, and then they leave him, and the one, obviously his lover doesn't want to leave him. He's like,
yeah,
we can't just leave him out here for the animals to eat him and insects and shit.
mhm.
And they were like, well, we'll bring somebody back. obviously, because you know where he is.
Mhm.
You know, like you guys are lost at this point.
And then the guy tries to get on his level. He's like, man, that's not him anymore. That's just his shell. His spirit is gone. And this is not trying to like talk him down, trying to talk his emotion down and stuff like that, trying to bring him like snap him back into reality because he's so far gone at that point, or right
Mhm.
there on the verge of being so far gone.
Yeah,
He tries to just talk him out of it as best as he can. And that's from the guy that's a hothead. So obviously you could tell that this group is close because he wasn't being like for the majority of the movie, he's kind of an asshole. But during that scene, he really was trying to be genuine and caring for this person to kind of get
yeah,
them back on because you could tell they're close, they're really close in that group. And
yeah,
sure, they're kind of at each other's, you know, you know, at each other for a while there, but they're still at the end of the day, they're still really close. So,
they are.
I thought that was good. That was a good little character trait for him being, an asshole, but he's also like caring for his group and his, his friends. So,
Hmm. Yeah, and now the next segment that we're going to talk about is obviously where they're because they need to camp out one night,
oh
and
man,
yeah, so they camp out because obviously there's about to be a storm and stuff like that. So they camp out, and all their cell phones come up missing. By in the morning time, they realize this, and one of the girls in the group, she's gone. The asshole's boyfriend or girlfriend, excuse me.
yeah,
Um, so she's gone, and they instantly, and here's where we're talking about this because instantly the asshole of the group's like, well, they killed her.
yeah. He
Well,
automatically assumes that she's dead, and that but
yeah, and the people that have been following them killed her. Well, wait a
yeah,
minute now. What's your proof on this? And so they see. I think they see Ruthie, and they go after her.
yeah, the little
And
girl.
yeah, and then you could kind of hear the chains when he steps on the chains, but it's like a trap.
Hmm.
Which might I add, the traps in this film are fucking amazing.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Yeah. And I mean, and we'll get into that too because supposedly these are just hunting traps. You know,
Yeah,
Uh, the foundation they almost play themselves off as very naive to the situation, but I think there's more to that story, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But so the Jen tells Ruthie to run away, and then all of a sudden, I'm just gonna call him asshole of the group because I can't remember his name to save
I
my
think his
life.
name. I think his name's Adam. Yeah, I wrote it down in my notes. His name's Adam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Adam gets dragged into a fucking hole in the ground, which that was another intense scene because he gets dragged into the hole, and then Darius tries to go after him, and there's a rattlesnake striking at Darius's face.
Yeah, it's
That that
insane, man. Like so
that caught
frantic.
that yeah, that caught me off guard. I was like, oh shit.
Because we didn't even talk about what happened to his girlfriend. Like what happened to her when she fell in that hole in the trap. Oh my god,
Mhm.
like that shit
Well,
was insane.
well, that's later on. Yeah, when they're stalked even heavily.
Yeah,
Well, at this point, well, I'm trying to get to that turning point for them as well, because so, and here's okay. So Adam comes up missing, and the group kind of just says, "Okay, we need to move on. We don't need to waste time here. We need to get off this damn mountain." And so they come across like this shed, which instantly screamed, "Hello! There's killers all over the place here because there's backpacks, there's cell phones, there's glasses. I mean, come on.
yeah,
Like how cliche do you need to be here? I see that and I see a bloody saw. There's even a chainsaw sitting there, and I'm just like,
yeah.
fuck, I would be out of there and running down that fucking mountain at this point because
And that's
there's killers out there.
the one kind of part in this movie that kind of has me feel like this is wrong turn, like the franchise wrong turn. Like it's taken a step into that direction for a minute, because you would see that in these films, like in the original Wrong Turn with all the cars and stuff that the cannibals would kill all these people and their cars and stuff would be in that big junkyard and stuff like that. It kind of reminded me of that. I'm like, okay, this is kind of
Yeah,
them paying homage to that in a way. You know, you would see this in backwoods cannibals, and they would discard, the the possessions of the victims and stuff like that, and in this way, you kind of would see that. So yeah, that kind of reminded me of Wrong Turn, like the original Wrong Turn, and a
Definitely.
few franchise for sure.
Definitely.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, so now they're in here and they're kind of just exploring in this shed, and they see two guys carrying Adam. So instantly they approach the two men who are dressed up in full like gear. And they approach them, and obviously these people are like speaking a tongue, and
Well, they're
so
speaking.
now you got,
Yeah.
yeah, they're speaking their own language, and so now you got like the group don't know what the hell they're saying, and they're trying to like it almost played off to where they were like trying to calm the group down, like they
Yeah.
were like, hey, hang on, you know, and they dropped Adam, and then instantly like Adam jumped up and beat this guy to a pulp.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, I mean, literally, there was like no face left at all.
No, not at all.
And then they were like, "You just killed that man," and he was like, "Well, yeah, that he killed my girlfriend." And they were,
Yeah.
and even Jen was like, "What proof do you have of him
Yeah.
killing her?"
Right. You have no proof that she's dead.
Yeah, and then he was like, "These are the bad people," and then he was like, "They killed my girlfriend," and then lo and behold, the girlfriend pops up and she's like, "Hey, you know, uh, I'm here."
Which I was super like before she explained everything, I was like, well, where the fuck have you been this whole time? Like you just disappeared and now you just show up. Like, and then
Yeah,
she explained the whole situation of why. I was like, okay, all right, cool. Because I was like, where was this woman at? She just disappeared. Like, so
mhm.
I'm starting to think like something happened to her too, as a viewer, like you're kind of like, okay, something happened. But then, the fact that he's kind of like Adam's starting to get kind of like, you know, aggressive with these people and this and that. Well, dude, they carry him in the most like cliched "we're gonna barbecue your ass" way. Like they have his arms tied up and his legs tied up, like they're taking him to a barbecue and his ass is gonna be on the barbecue. Like the most
I'm surprised
cliche.
I didn't see an apple in his mouth.
Right, an apple in his mouth and shit. Like it's the most cliched of all ways to carry somebody you're gonna like. I've seen it in so many movies, so I'm like, okay, I could kind of see why he's reacting this way. Because if that were me and you were carrying me like that, I would think you're gonna fucking barbecue my ass. Like,
Well,
it's
and the funny thing is most cannibalistic tribes did carry their victims that way.
right.
So yeah, I mean, and I guess that plays on the cliche or the, I guess, play homage a little to the original films as well.
Hmm. So when we get to a certain point in this film where that gets brought back up, you kind of like wonder, well, did they were they just helping him out or what? No, they didn't seem like to me that they were helping him out. Like they definitely seemed like to me that they were gonna like either torture him or do something to him, but it wasn't a pleasant thing that they were gonna do to him. Not
Mhm.
carrying him around like that. Like if that were the case, they'd just be carrying him like
Over their shoulder or
over
something.
their shoulders or something. Like yeah, but the fact that
'Cause
they
these aren't the smallest guys. These were
yeah, they're
barbarian looking dudes. They were big.
right.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I mean, this point in the film is another turning point, because and I loved this film because, or this section of the film, because later on in the film you're brought to, okay, so basically they've all been captured by the Foundation at this point,
Mhm.
and they're brought to trial in front of the, I guess you would say, like the leaders of the Foundation, you
Yeah.
know and this is where he's explaining, you know we were just checking our moose traps, and we thought we had a moose, so we pulled on him, and we realized this is a human being. He was injured. We were bringing him back here to, to help, get him health, and then letting him go. And instantly your mind goes into, well, who's the real monsters here?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and the group is not innocent because, quite frankly, they're right. Like, these two men could have just been helping him,
Yep. Yeah.
and instantly you just see these two burly men carrying him in a most uncomfortable manner,
Yeah.
and instantly you think, well, this is a bad situation. So yeah, I mean, and I think I made a reference that this is almost kind of like a Dale and Tucker versus Evil
Yep. That's another
type
movie.
deal.
That's another movie that reminded me of that. There's so many movies that I thought of watching this film. Tucker and Dale versus Evil is one. Believe it or not, Cannibal Holocaust, the whole "Are we the monsters or are they the monsters?" That whole thing, I thought about that too. Like that crept into my mind. Um, I thought of honestly another film I thought of when watching this was the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. Like it, I for some reason like this movie kind of reminded me of that in a way, just a different setting, and of course,
Yeah.
with the different villains, but some of that reminded me of it, especially with the little girl character. I can't remember her name. She reminded me of the Rudy character in this movie.
Oh, her name
Or,
her name actually, coincidentally enough, is Ruthie.
so yeah, that's pretty funny. I thought about
Yeah.
that too. I was like, this little girl reminds me of her. Like she's with the group, but she's gonna try to help. I feel like she's gonna try to help the protagonist, and
And
that
which she does.
right, which it does. So that's why it's like, okay, that's why I've seen so many of these movies that when I'm watching something like this, I just boom, instantly think about this or that. And
Hmm.
I couldn't help but do that multiple times in this film,
Yeah.
especially on my second viewing. The second viewing, I did it even more. First time I thought of maybe two or three, or no, just maybe two. But then the last time I thought of way more. So it's interesting, it gets you in that headspace and has you thinking like that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of homages being played in this too. So,
Yeah. I definitely agree with that.
but I'm sorry, dude, to go back to what you were talking about, the court scene.
Well,
That
yeah. So instantly, yeah, the basically like the leader of all of this. He obviously is the main leader. I mean, just look at the skull that he wears and everything.
yeah,
I mean, he's obviously the leader of this group. This group is not cannibalistic at all because obviously you see what they eat. They live off the land.
yeah,
Um, but at one point, um, he asks, "Don't lie. Did he kill him?" And you know, and instantly Jen lies, and she's like, "No, he didn't kill him."
protect her friend. Hmm.
Yeah, she tries to protect her friend because in her mindset, this is not a real court system. But in
Right, and
their
they even
mindset, this is. And I think that no matter um, what occurs next is gonna happen regardless because the word barbaric is used,
mhm.
and the best way to describe this group of people is they almost look very barbaric. And I think I told you before we got onto the show, but they reminded me of like Vikings because they
Yeah,
they looked very they looked bold and in your face, and again very barbaric because I mean they just looked Viking like. Um, I was honestly waiting for like a dragon ship.
something.
But no, but and she calls him barbaric because he then asks Ruthie. He says, "Did you see who killed? I believe his name was Samuel."
Yeah,
And she points out Adam, and he said, "You lied to me." Um, he was like, "You're getting executed." Um, and then he tells the rest of the group um, that they're going to be put in the darkness.
the darkness. Which yeah, that's pretty.
And,
It's pretty fucked up too.
And I think regardless, because they found the foundation and they came off that path, they were gonna be put in the darkness regardless.
Hmm.
Because you don't actually see how many people are in the darkness until they have to go down in the the cave or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but I think this is a huge turning point for Jen because so obviously the leader of the group ends up killing Adam the same exact way that Adam had killed Samuel,
Exactly.
you know. And so at this point now
An
he's
eye
got
for
to
an eye, you know. An eye for an
yeah.
eye, that old saying, that old adage that fits into this situation. And that's exactly what happens.
Hmm.
You kill one of ours this way, we're gonna kill one of yours this way. It's writing out a wrong, essentially, in their mind. Because they
Yeah.
knew, like you said, you could tell they were putting them on trial, but you knew the end result was going to be this guy was going to get killed. He was going to die. He was going to be executed. Like, you knew there was nothing that wasn't going to stop that from happening.
Yeah.
So
As
yeah,
an audience member.
right. As an audience member, you got that feeling.
Yeah. And then you instantly get the feeling that regardless they were going to end up in a bad situation. Well, I guess at this point you might still be naive to the situation and while he's explaining the whole thing about well they thought he was injured so we were just going to bring him back here until he was healthy and then we were going to release him,
Yeah.
and instantly you're like, oh my god, well wait a minute, what if these people aren't bad people at all and they were actually just going to do that.
Hmm.
uh, and then when he says that he's going to take them to the darkness, obviously now you see a turning point in the group itself, and they're honestly just out for blood. They want to be hidden, they want to be secret, they don't want people to know that they exist, and this is one way to make that happen. I really love the idea of the darkness because when they open up the gates to the darkness, instantly you just see this dark cave, and it's like, okay, that's the darkness. And then
Yeah.
he says, in the darkness you will hear no evil, see no evil, and speak no evil.
Yeah.
And as he's like turning a hot rod, and I'm like, the fuck is this guy doing? And then he proceeds to burn the guy's eyes out, his mouth, and his ears
Yeah. It's brutal, man.
before he shoves him into this dark cave.
Yeah. It's
That's
fucked
that's
up, man.
really brutal. That's barbaric.
For sure. It's almost like you'd probably rather take execution than that. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, it's almost like that's even worse, like I don't know, man. Like
Because no
that's rough.
telling how long you're actually going to live in there,
Yeah, you
until
can't
you
see. You
finally
can't,
just die.
yeah, dude, it's fucking terrifying.
It really is.
Terrifying situation to be in.
So at this point, like I said, you see a turning point not only for Jen, but Darius as well.
Right.
So I forget the guy's name, but the other gentleman who lost his loved one due to the ginormous tree.
Yeah.
Um, um, so he obviously they see what happens to him, and instantly she was like, you can use us. And
Hmm.
they were kind of confused, and they were like, what do you mean we can use you? And she's like, he's strong-willed, and he believes in what he does is a good cause. And then she was like, I'm fertile and I can have children and I've never been sick and I don't have diseases. And she was like, you can use me for that, you know?
Which is pretty brutal, man. Like you feel like she's ultimately sacrificing herself to essentially save her boyfriend, like save him from a fate far worse than death. And he looks at her like he can't believe what she's doing, but essentially she's saving your life, dude. Like you were about to get like put in the same situation, and you weren't going to live out to be I mean, you were going to live out, but it wasn't going to be. You were going to be miserable, and you were going to wish you were dead. So,
Yeah.
she's sacrificing herself for you, like doing this for you and helping you out and stuff like that. But it's just uncomfortable situation that she would put herself in that situation. It sucks, man. It's a scene where you're like, damn, that's rough, man.
Yeah.
That is rough. That you have to come up with to a conclusion like that in order to survive.
Mhm.
Like, but that was quick thinking on her part too. Like,
Yeah.
you wouldn't see that in a lot of films, but she was like quick. Like, she's a resourceful girl. She really is our main antagonist. She
Mhm.
really is, and she learns quick how to adjust to their foundation. And man, she picks up on archery really fucking fast.
Yeah, apparently. But
Damn.
I think that was a turning point in her because in the beginning you find out she doesn't have a job, she doesn't know what she wants to do with her life still. She's
Indecisive.
got these college degrees, but she just doesn't know what she wants to do with her life,
Right.
you know? And
And
in this instant, she realizes what she has to do to become a strong woman. And there again, it's almost like watching a strong female character being born. And it takes a really strong woman to sit there and sacrifice herself because any weak woman wouldn't do that right there in that situation, you know?
it's really mind blowing. Um,
Yeah.
like and to what I was going to go back on, that foreshadowing with the Darius character when she said that he was built, to help out and work for a nonprofit and help a cause and this and that. His personality and stuff gels and fits in well with this foundation. He's almost tailor made to be a citizen in this civilization. So
Hmm.
it's like foreshadowing in the beginning of the movie. His character is going to eventually, become accustomed to this way of life and live. So it's heavy foreshadowing.
Well, in the next scene that you see, they're burning bodies and stuff like that. And I think Jen and Darius are standing there, and this is the scene where you see a turning point in Darius more so because I feel that Darius was in this group as a friend, but never felt like he actually fit in
Right. Yeah.
because in this instance, the two gentlemen walk up to him and they hand him a knife, and then and they start saying something, and he was like, "Does that mean friend?"
Hmm.
And they were kind of patting him on the shoulder and stuff, like they were accepting of him.
Yeah.
You could almost see it in his face because then at one point they offer him a drink and then they kind of grab him and kind of walk off. And he turns and looks and he almost looks happy, like he's
Yeah.
finally being accepted, you know?
And fitting into society, which, as minority and stuff like that, I'm sure he would have that problem and feeling like he truly fit in with his group. Essentially, like it's one of those things, man. We've seen it covered in a lot of films, especially recently, like Get Out, for example. That's another movie I thought of, like Get Out, and that one popped up, and when I was thinking about, especially the scene you're talking about, where he feels accepted and stuff like that, like, and because this society is essentially like banded, no matter what your skin tone is or what your color is, your what you believe in and stuff like that. They all believe in the same cause and they're one, so they're
Mm-hmm.
unified. And I think that's what he gravitated to, and that's what he likes, is that they all have come together for a common goal, and that goal is survival and thriving as a society. So he, I think, always had that in him, and now he feels truly at home
Yeah.
and comfortable in this society. So yeah, dude, I'm right there with you. I felt the same way. Like that I definitely caught that from, especially the second time I watched it. First time it kind of, I didn't catch it, but that's why I say, man, like, rewatches are so important because you pick up
Mm-hmm.
on stuff you didn't pick up on at first. So I always champion, giving a film a rewatch, especially if you didn't really care for it. Not to say I didn't care for it. I liked it the first time around too, but I just didn't write any notes for it when we decided we were going to cover it. So I wanted to give it another shot and write my notes down. But
Yeah.
man, I caught that definitely this time. So good call, Corey. Good call on that.
Well, thank you.
I love the subtlety of it, though, man. You pick up on it through subtle things, and that's
Yeah.
how filmmaking. So
So now Jen obviously goes and meets with I wish I could remember his name. Um, but she meets with him and basically becomes his wife.
mhm.
Um, and now backtracking to her father, who is trekking through the woods with the innkeeper's
I think it was the
cousin or whatever.
cousin, or, yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So and he's heading up the mountain to just find out what the hell happened to his daughter. He doesn't know if she's alive, if she's dead. He's going to find out.
Yeah.
And obviously gets captured like by the foundation and uh you know gets dragged into this world and
Hmm.
lo and behold his own daughter shoots him with an arrow and
Yeah, I wrote that on
instantly.
my note. I wrote that
Yeah.
on my notes. Like, damn, his own daughter shot him with an arrow.
Yeah, but she did it to save his life.
Yeah, but it's just rough. Like, damn, that's that's a
Well,
fucked up
because
situation.
he was getting kind of antsy. He wanted to know where his daughter was. He had a gun in his hand. They would have probably brutally killed him right then and
Oh,
there had he taken one of them out.
mm,
So she kind of did that to save his life. So she shot him in the arm. He fell to the ground. They were able to get the gun away from him. And then of course her husband was like, "Oh, he trespassed. He's going into the darkness." It's like, really? So in just one instance, you're not even going to give this guy a trial. Just,
yeah,
oh, he trespassed.
they're just so gung ho on making everybody get into the darkness. Like they just ready to do it. Like they're just ready
Yeah,
to burn people's eyes out, burn people's tongues out.
yeah.
They don't care. They
Which,
don't want to make. They just want to do it.
well, and honestly, like, honestly, if he wasn't in the picture, I wonder how much of that would actually go on. You know, was this whole community like that? Or was
Mhm.
he like that? It was never really explained. But I mean, if he was the leader, they would probably just been like, well, it's something that he does. He
Right.
gets off by putting people in the darkness.
It seemed like they were held by like a like a congress of individuals that would make decisions, but it seemed like he was making most of the. So I wonder how the hierarchy in this society works. Like, if he is the ultimate, like he's the final say, or do they still kind of get? Because you never really can tell that they all get together and make a decision. He kind of just makes the decisions for the majority of them, but you could tell they have a hierarchy because there's some individuals in there that really are elevated above others almost. So I wonder how that works out, how the hierarchy is in the civilization, in the foundation, excuse me. You
Yeah.
know, kind of wondered that too. I was like, well, how do they? Is he like judge, jury, and executioner? Like, I'm kind of
Well, I
I'm
mean,
kind of
at this point, he's showing traits that would actually, in my opinion, would scare people to kind of challenge him.
right. Okay, so like the alpha male thing. Like, yeah, okay,
Yeah, I definitely feel that he's the alpha male, and his word is what goes. And if you try and challenge it, then you're probably put in the darkness.
yeah, okay, yeah, I mean,
I mean, that I feel strong about that. But I also feel that these people are brainwashed too into
yeah, it could
believing
be.
that this is the way life is.
Yeah, it could be like a cultist thing. Like,
Mhm.
for sure, absolutely. I could see it going any number of different ways. And
Mhm.
maybe that's a good thing that they kind of left it up to your interpretation. Sometimes it's good to have that, when you think about what the scenario might be. Not everything is better off explained, but
Yeah,
you still think about it like, I wonder what the hierarchy is and how that kind of plays out and works. But um, yeah, either way, man, the guy definitely holds serious sway on everybody's opinions, and he feels like the alpha. I thought that the first time I watched it, and I thought about it the second time I watched it. He feels like the alpha to me.
yeah,
He gets
definitely.
his pick of the litter essentially. He gets her to be his wife. She said, I'll take, any available man that's ready to marry or something. He's like, okay, it's me. So he pretty
Yeah.
much has first dibs, essentially. So who knows, man? Who
Yeah.
knows? I definitely got that vibe from him too. But I mean, Bill Sage being the actor that portrays him, I love seeing Bill Sage in movies, man. The guy is awesome. He has that look, that kind of scowl, but he's really good in every little horror film I've seen him in. I mean, going back to American Psycho, so much he's been in. He was the in Fender Bender. He was the main villain, which was great. So,
Really?
yeah, that was Bill Sage, dude. I love Bill Sage, man. He's a great character actor. I love seeing him and stuff. He pops up in just these random films I watch every now and again. He pops up. I'm like, oh, cool. Bill Sage is in this. So it was great seeing
This
him, man.
role was very sadistic and dark, and I loved his character. I think they picked him really well for it.
I mean, the man has some acting chops, man. He delivers some monologues in here that are just, oof, they chill you,
Yeah.
especially when he's talking about we're the barbarians. That whole scene where he's like, we're the barbarians. We live,
Yeah.
and he goes on that tangent. Oh man, it's fucking great. So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that was a very intense scene.
Very
And
intense
I
scene.
I love how he was like, "We're the barbarians." Yeah, like you said, like and just yeah.
Push the enemy throws it back on him that makes that thing.
Hmm.
Like I said, like I'll go back to the Cannibal Holocaust thing. Who's the real villains here? Are we the villains or good villains? It's like who's who's the real evil? I mean, it makes you question things. And
Hmm.
that kind of did the way he sprouted out, the way he said that to them made them kind of question their own logic and what they believed in almost. So
Well, yeah, in that instance, like I said, in that instance, you're like, "Holy shit, the, they were the monsters, not the group." And then later on, you find out they are actually monsters
right,
themselves,
yeah,
but because of the whole darkness thing.
yeah,
And I definitely want to talk about that because you do see some cannibalistic things, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So, now Jen sees this as an opportunity to get out, which in my opinion, I wish she would have made the decision to get out long before her father because at first it almost seemed like her father was kind of hindering her in this decision because
yeah,
instantly you see this strong woman now, who can handle her own, but her father, I think he's a little more weaker than her at this point,
yeah. Oh yeah,
but he comes out of his shell really fast, and they kind of bond together and they make their escape, which I love. Um, but they end up getting away. They end up going to Darius, and this is again Darius. We're talking about him feeling like he's accepted, and I
yeah.
believe he actually says that here. He's like, these people see me for who I am, not the color of my skin or the type of person I am, but they
So he's
they
like, "Oh,
they, they see me as me.
I want to
And
stay. I don't want to go.
yeah, yeah, and and we'll get into that because in the end, because I'm kind of curious, they didn't show something, and I want to get your input on that, but
Uh,
um, so so they so obviously Darius is like not wanting to leave. So they're like, okay, well, well, he wants to stay there. He wants to be a part of this community. So they leave without him. And as they go to the door's locked. Almost like um uh her husband, the leader of this group now, has planned this, because she even makes it a point to say this door's never locked,
hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and so they run into Ruthie, and Ruthie is like, "Yes, there's a way out. It's in the darkness." So they go down to the tunnel where the darkness is, the cave, and I guess it's not really a cave because there's like a back entrance there that's kind of open, um, which is really brutal if you think about it. Because so if you think about it, these people that are like stumbling around in the dark with no eyes, uh, they're basically feeling their way around in this cave. If they make
Yeah.
it to the end, there's just a cliff there.
I mean,
So are
some
they
of them,
are they
some of
falling to
them,
their death?
oh yeah, I'm sure they are. Some of them are missing limbs. Like
Well,
it's
they
rough.
yeah, and yeah, so yeah, they go into this cave and there's a whole bunch of these people in there. So you're not okay. So I was expecting to like see like their friend that was in there that got put in there. I wasn't
Yeah,
expecting to see all those people in there, and there was
yeah,
a fuck ton of people in there.
yeah. There
So
was a
they've been
lot.
doing this for a while, and instantly you're coming with or you come to the realization that these people are really dark people. Like they're there to do more harm than good.
Then good, right?
Yeah. So what he said in the trial was just all bullshit essentially,
Mm-hmm.
because he's out to harm whoever finds out about them. And so they make their escape, and the Foundation people are out in the woods, and they have to fight their way off. And again, that's where I said that there's a turning point with her father, because he almost seemed very weak as they were trying to make their escape. And then when they finally made their escape, it almost seemed like he came out of his shell, and a whole side of survival from this guy just randomly appeared.
Yeah, oh yeah,
And I thought that was awesome. So they fought together as father and daughter to escape and essentially survive.
yeah, yeah. Good bonding moment for them. I know it sounds weird, but I mean, really, essentially it was, man.
Mhm.
They forged like a a partnership to get out of there alive, and they did everything. And like you said, he came into his own. In the beginning, he was very very like green when it comes to surviving in the woods and looking out for the traps. He picked up on the traps real fast. That's one thing I'm like, damn, picked up on the traps really quick. I'm like,
Mhm.
nah, it's wild. He was able to pick up on that quick. He didn't spend a lot of time with the hunter, so I would have thought it would have kind of built up a little bit of him, just kind of like a scene or two of him showing him what to look out for, what to kind of. I know they did a little bit of that, but not nearly enough. So the fact that he just picked up on it quick, he was like, "Oh, it's convenience. It was a convenience thing." So I was like, "Okay, whatever."
Yeah.
But I mean, she was tough as nails, though, man. She was a badass with a bow and arrow, which she learned that real quick too. Like this family is just quick. They're quick learners. Like
Seems like it.
they learn how to adapt fast. So I mean, you can't knock it. They both showed that characteristic, father and daughter. So who knows? Maybe it's just a trait that runs in their family.
Yeah. Yeah. What I really love is that they ran into the locals in the
Yeah,
woods looking for them.
yeah. They come full circle with their character arc. You know,
Mhm.
they
Well,
set
at
them.
one yeah, because at one point the father's like, "Wait a minute, you guys beat me up," and they were like, "Because we figured you would just kind of leave this place after we
Right.
beat your ass."
After we did that, we figured you just leave. We kind of did that to save your life, essentially. So it's
Hmm.
like these people care, they really do. I mean, they had to go to extremes to prove it, but they really do care that these people survive and make it, you know.
Yeah.
So essentially they come back to help them out and to save them. And we learned from that guy that he had what was it, his
He had a nephew
nephew, yeah. It was a
that
nephew,
disappeared like 6 years prior to this.
yeah, and he blamed the foundation and he, essentially had a grudge against them because of that. So, he was in it to help him out, and sure enough, him and his he had a posse of hunters. I mean, just a hunting party. So, they open fire with the foundation and shoot at them, and then there's like essentially, what can you do? You have automatic weapons and stuff against bow and arrows, and just you're not going to really do too much good there. So they're able to get out, essentially unscathed.
Yeah.
Maybe not physically, but mentally. I mean, they're kind of like, they've been through a lot. So
Yeah.
but when they get out and they go back to their life and stuff like that, you could tell that they've grown so much closer. The daughter and dad. I mean,
Yeah,
they
because
just
now she's figured out what she wants to do with her life. She's working for her dad. I think he even gave her own office and everything.
Mm.
So that was, so obviously, now like I said, she's figured out what she wants to do with her life and stuff, and you can you can almost tell they're just kind of getting back to life, you know. And obviously, they haven't talked about this with anyone, because they essentially murdered people, but it was all survival. But if they had went to the police and stuff, there would have been a huge investigation that probably would have got shut down. The foundation would have got shut down, stuff like that,
Mhm.
which probably would have done them some good, considering what happens next in the film.
But did you hear what she said too when she was talking to her dad and they were making plans? So apparently I, which I didn't understand. Her dad is, I guess, married to this chick, but this chick is really young. She looks really young anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and she's got like two like older sons, but they look like they're closer to her age. So I'm like, damn, like I didn't figure out like that's that's a crazy family dynamic. This chick looks way too young to have those two kids. Like, but what Jen said to her dad was pretty cool. They were getting together to watch a movie or something, and she said that the boys, her brothers, were going to pick it out, and she said, "Oh, they picked out some weird backwoods cannibal movie or something like that." I'm like, "That was cool. That was cool.
Yeah.
That was neat."
Real quick, I wanted to backtrack a little bit. The
Okay.
people in the darkness were eating each other.
They had to have been, man. There's people missing limbs, and
Yeah, you didn't see it? Like they were literally just chowing down on each other.
I I think I think I did see that. Okay, yeah, I did. Okay, yeah, I know what
So
you're doing. I know.
yeah, so like yeah, so there's the cannibal aspect, I guess.
Yeah,
But yeah, okay, so yeah, so now she leaves her dad and she goes back home with her, I guess her stepmother and her two stepbrothers,
yeah,
and she hears them talking to somebody. And lo and behold, as she walks into the dining room, there sits essentially her husband and Ruth.
yeah. Little girl.
Yeah. And now it's unfolded that she's pregnant with his child and everything. And of course, like they're like, yeah, we're buying the house next door, and her stepmom's like, oh, you guys should stay for dinner. Scott would love to meet you guys. You know,
It's pretty
and
gnarly.
yeah, which is like, you could just feel her emotion and how lost she is in just that instance.
Yeah, just
Um,
the tensions ratcheted up. It's
oh man,
wonderful.
the tension
There's so
is
much.
like really high.
There's so much tension in this movie, dude. That like there's so much of it, and like you just feel the intensity, and it's man, like I said, good filmmaking. Like able to pull that off and pull it off well. In some ways, very subtly. You
Mm-hmm.
know, So I give the director credit. Like he did a fantastic job with that. I
Mm-hmm.
don't I don't see a problem there. I don't see a problem at all.
What did you think about that quick double take that occurred right there in that instance?
That almost like fantasy dream sequence.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that
holy
was
shit,
so insane.
that's insane. I mean, because you got to think this girl is pregnant, man. Is she
She gets fucking thrown into a fucking like cabinet.
right? But
So yeah,
like,
so Jen grabs, she goes to the bathroom, and then she's like, you know what, fuck this, I'm fighting. and she like goes in, which I could see her, a woman that's like this is, she's strong-willed, but at the same time, she's also a broken woman.
Oh
And
yeah.
I could see a woman that's been put through this having knives in a drawer like that, waiting in case something happens, in which
Absolutely.
obviously something did happen here. So she she grabs the two knives, she goes down, she instantly is like, "Get the fuck out of my house!" And then throws the knife at his face. He dodges it, grabs it, stabs uh, her stepmom, and then kills the two stepbrothers. And then yeah, she ends up stabbing him in the back of the head. And then as soon as this happens, she like looks over and her stepmom's talking to her as she's dying or whatever, and then her eyes open up and she starts talking some more. And then she comes to the realization that this didn't even occur. This just played out in her head, which is
Right.
actually really cool because she's instantly she almost could see the future of what could happen if she took action right then and there. And I like that because
Yeah.
I mean she's very confident that she can take him out easily. Um, if if uh if she was to do this,
Right.
so that's when she's like, you know, she asks her stepmom and her stepbrothers to leave the room, and she's, and again, very strong-willed woman says, "I'll go with you if you leave them alone," and he goes, "Guaranteed." And then he obviously, offered assurance, saying that he wouldn't kill her right away because she was
Yes.
carrying his child.
Right. Which I believe that. I believe that for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he was being manipulative there. I think
Well,
that.
I don't think that he would have hurt her though.
Right.
I think he would have kept her alive because I think deep down inside, I think he was in love with her.
Right. But I do believe that he was lying about not coming back for her family because you got to think her dad was the one that killed his daughter. So
Yeah,
I think he definitely would have came back to finish the job against the father
yeah,
because
I
that.
think he would have definitely took out the
Oh,
father.
yeah, I
Well,
don't think
because
he took it lightly at all.
there again, the father could have potentially come back for her again.
Oh yeah.
So
It,
yeah,
the fact that he also blew his daughter's brains out, man, like that shit was brutal. Like,
hmm
shot her in the head and half of her head was gone. It was insane. So I mean that then and there, it's like, oh shit, like he's definitely holding a grudge against that man.
hmm
So yeah, I don't believe he would have. I don't think he essentially would have hurt the stepmom and the two boys, but I do believe he would have came after the dad, no question.
yeah,
Yeah, blood's thicker than water, man. So yeah, you're gonna avenge your daughter's death, no doubt about that.
yeah, yeah. I
Put
could, I
him on
could definitely see that.
put him on trial and then bash his brains out with a giant stump or a giant log, or just shoot him in the head, like they seem to believe in that eye for an eye thing. So he probably would have blasted his head off. I don't know, but I know he would have came back for him.
Yeah. So yeah. So and again, you know what? I'm really happy that the ending was the way it is. Because at first I was like, because even like I was like, because she was like leaving with him and Ruthie, because Ruthie was there too.
Yeah,
So they were all like leaving, and they were waiting outside for her and everything in a RV. And they literally were just walking away, and I was like, "This is it. This is the end of the film." I was like, "No, there's got to be more to the story." And then like I remember like as the credits were rolling and the RV is driving off, you see the RV kind of swerving a little bit, and I was like, "Well, that explains a lot because they don't really know how to drive because they're backwoods people. They live up in the mountain. I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying that they live up in the mountains. They probably don't
wonder
have
who
much experience driving vehicles. So, and I was like, okay. And then next thing you know, it just crashes, and that was unexpected. I was like, what the hell's going on? And then you see her fall out of the door, stabbing one of the guys, and I was like, this is the Jen we know now. This is awesome.
dude, she's a badass. She's doing all that while pregnant. I mean,
Yeah.
she's
And then
fucking.
grabs you see the one guy like trying to make his escape. She just throws the knife and hits him.
Oh, dude, it's wicked.
The ending was so brilliant because it leaves so much of the story to the imagination.
Yeah.
Because at this point now you see her, Ruthie walks up and touches her on the shoulder, and almost like Ruthie, you could tell Ruthie kind of wanted to go with her, but was almost like afraid to go with her,
Yeah.
when she was making her escape. So I think this is a way for Ruthie to get away from that life too.
Yeah.
Because, deep down, I think Ruthie thinks that this is probably not the right way of life, doing this to people and stuff. So it was really cool how the ending was just them walking away out of the shot of the camera,
Yeah. That long take of them walking toward the camera, really well done. Brilliant.
Hmm.
Love it. Like it did not break at all. It was just one continuous shot, and the whole time them walking toward the camera, it was like, oh man, that's crazy. You think about it, you really try to process what you just saw because really you don't expect a pregnant woman to just go ape shit and kill all these people. Like,
Yeah, because there was
right?
probably like 5 or 6 of these people inside this RV.
Yeah, and she fucking massacred them. So, like, damn. I mean, she's a badass, dude. No doubt about it. She turned into a badass in this.
Hmm.
But yeah, I loved it, man. I had a wonderful time with it. Um, right up there, honestly, with the original Wrong Turn for me. It's my favorites in the franchise. I mean, no question about it. I liked it just as much. I could tell. I mean, it's the same. They're very different films, but the way the story is, well, I wouldn't say the original Wrong Turn had a brilliant story, but this story is a lot more fleshed out, and that's what I loved about it. I love the difference in tone, the difference in you know direction that they
Hmm.
took with this almost reboot. It really is a reboot in and of itself, and it's like a reimagining. So
Yeah.
I dig it, man. I had a blast with it. I had so much fun with it. I highly recommend it. Um, I know we discussed a lot of it, and I hope that our listeners, if they haven't seen it, they cut it off right when we said that there was going to be heavy spoilers because we did dissect the shit out of this.
Yeah, we
So
did.
yeah, so I hope that they didn't continue listening and that they come back to us and finish it up after they've seen the movie. But
Yeah.
I enjoyed the hell out of it, dude.
You know what? You know what I really hope for? I really hope people don't treat this almost like a Halloween 2 type deal,
Yeah,
because it in my opinion, and there again, I love, or not Halloween 2, Halloween 3, excuse me.
that's what I was.
Um
Thought you meant that.
yeah. But Halloween 3 is as a standalone, it's a very fun film and I enjoy watching it. Just like this. It doesn't have anything to do with any of the other ones, and yet it is a fun standalone film. I actually
I
thoroughly enjoyed this film.
Right. I it doesn't have anything to do with the original the franchise, and I think that's the benefit to this movie. A lot of people see some people, and I'm not gonna say a lot of people. Some people see it as a downside to it. I think it's an upside to it. I think
Hmm.
that it stands out and it's clever and it shines because it's so much different.
Hmm.
And I really truly believe that, and I think if people were open minded, they give us a shot. It might take its time to get its audience if people are still stuck on the fact that it's not a structured franchise film in Wrong Turn. That it could be a situation like you said with Halloween 3. It took a long time for Halloween 3 to find its audience, but people love it now, and people
Yeah.
really enjoy it. So it might take a while for this one to really, really gain that popularity, but I'm hoping one day it happens because like I said, I feel like a broken record here, but I had a blast with it.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. This was definitely enjoyable. And like you said, it's almost a 2 hour film, or it's right at 2 hours or whatever. I don't know the exact minutes of it, but it like it doesn't feel that way, you know.
Because
You
I think you were
in the
so
beginning,
invested.
exactly. You
I
really
feel
do. Because it's enjoyable for me as the audience. I like watching character development, and that's what occurs in the first portion of the film, you know, and then obviously the second portion of the film where it's just in your face, raw, and just almost constant, you know, what's happening next, and oh, it just kept me going, you
yeah.
know, and it actually at the end kept me wanting more, and that's why I remember like after they walked out of the credits, I paused the film and I think I took my dog out real quick and I came back to I think I had 2 minutes left of the credits rolling and I was like, I wonder if something else is going to happen. I'm going to sit and watch this, and I watched it all the way up until it went back to the menu screen because you know, you just don't know if something else is going to happen because there was so much that occurred even after technically the film was over. I was like so invested. I was like, I'm wondering if there's something else that's going to happen, you know.
Yeah. So you
But
stayed to well after the credits to see if something else popped up.
I really did. But it was just all you seen was the dead body laying in the street and the crashed RV. But it was well done, well
Oh man.
done. It was so fun. Yeah, and the rewatchability is so awesome. I can't wait to watch it again. My wife actually went to bed before we could view it together, so she's gonna want to watch it too, I'm
Yeah.
sure. And she's actually a huge fan of the all the other ones.
Wow. Okay.
So, and I told her, you know, hey, I told her, and you know, before she even watched it, I was like, this doesn't have anything to do with the other ones, but you're gonna want to watch this one because it's that good.
Yeah. It's a
So,
solid film, man. Solid film.
yeah, it keeps you going.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, brother, you ready to land this plane?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm ready to do it. I think we covered it quite well. Do you have anything else you want to add or
I really don't, man. I think we covered pretty
cover?
solidly. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just suggest people if you hop back in, please see it. I think you if you go into it with an open mind, I feel like I said, I feel like I keep saying that, but I really believe if you go in with an open mind and don't expect it to be another prototypical structured wrong turn film, you'll be pleasantly surprised.
yeah, most definitely. Well, with that, brother, folks, you have been listening to the Midnight Monster Corner podcast, and we appreciate you guys following us and supporting us and listening in. And if you haven't seen this film, even if we spoiled it for you, definitely check it out because it is a fun one. Um, but yeah, with that, head over to our Facebook group and let's try and start up a conversation. What is your favorite wrong turn film? And
Yeah.
because there's what 6 or 7 of them to choose from here, so I'm kind of curious what everyone else is thinking. Um, but yeah, you can always follow us on Twitter, and I can't for the life of me remember what our Twitter page is right now. I need to write that down so I can tell you guys this. Um, but yeah, we also have an Instagram. You can head over there and type in the Midnight Monster Corner, and we should pop up. You can also, oh well, follow Frosty at the Frosty on Instagram. He's posting all kinds of stuff, usually horror related, about our podcast as well. There, you can head over to TikTok, um, Midnight Monster 20. Check us out there, and I'm gonna hopefully start posting more stuff in there soon. But the main place we're active is Facebook, so head over there and generate a conversation. We'd love to have you. But with that, Tony, you got anything else you want to add?
No, like I said, the Facebook group, where you can get at us, no problem. We'll generate a discussion if you want to talk about what your favorite movie in the franchise is, or your least favorite movie in the franchise. Hit us up on the group. I mean, we're a closed group, but ask and we'll let you in. Just don't be just don't start fights. Really, just be a decent human being, and we'll have a great conversation and a good time. So yeah, come join our group and have fun with us.
Definitely, definitely. All right. Well, later, guys.
Later, guys.